This isn't a philosophy course, so we're not trying to give you the right answers to really hard moral questions. Like, should we follow rules and think like deontologists, or should we do what has the best outcomes and think like consequentialists? Look, I don't know. Philosophers have been debating these questions for millennia, and far be it for me, a lowly psychologist, to try to resolve that. This course is trying to answer a different question. How do I do more good? Basically, all of these moral frameworks say it's good to help others, and helping more is better than helping less. This course is trying to help you to help more, ideally with the same amount of effort. The problem is that our brains do funny things when we try to help others. We can have conflicting moral judgments that feel really hard to resolve. Noticing this conflict can help us figure out what to do. Take the classic trolley problem. You see a train barreling down some tracks towards some poor innocent people. These people are 5 workmen who haven't seen that oncoming train. So at the moment, this train's going to kill all 5 people. But there's a switch in front of you. If you push the switch, you can put the train onto a different track where there's only 1 person. The question is, do you push the switch? When forced to choose, around 90% of people, including professional philosophers, push the switch. After all, you save 4 lives. 4 extra people get to go home to their families. But little things can change how the trolley problem feels to people. Imagine that instead of just pushing a switch, you're on a bridge looking over the tracks. And there's this big fella standing right next to you. If you push him, he'd fall off the bridge and stop the trolley, saving the 5 workmen. Now what do you do? Even though the number of deaths is the same, pushing a switch feels very different than pushing a person. Pushing a switch feels cold and swift and unpersonal. Pushing a person feels all squidgy and uncomfortable. The cold calculus might be the same, but it feels very different. I'm not just hitting a switch at a distance. I feel like I'm killing the guy with my own bare hands. Why are these 2 dilemmas so different though? A simple explanation comes from the way our brain makes decisions. For most decisions, there are 2 processes. You might have heard them described as System 1 and System 2. Basically, System 1 is fast and intuitive and emotionally driven. It's what drives our gut reactions, or the aversion to pushing someone off a bridge. It's also how you can multiply 5 by 5 in your head without a pen and pencil. If, on the other hand, it was 35 times 35, you might need to stop and think. You can feel your brain shift gears and slow down, and working step by step. This is your System 2 starting to work. This system is slower, more deliberative, and more reason-based. It's what we use to carefully weigh outcomes and make impartial decisions, like figuring out if switching the tracks leads to fewer deaths. To take an analogy from the book Moral Tribes by Josh Green, think of the 2 systems like the 2 modes of your camera. Most cameras have 2 very different settings: automatic and manual mode. On automatic mode, the camera takes pretty good photos 99% of the time, as long as someone like me isn't holding it. Automatic mode is so fast that you probably use it most of the time, like your System 1 thinking. But there are times automatic mode doesn't get you the results that you want. If you're trying to shoot at night or in bright sun or when the subject is moving really fast, automatic mode can end up blurry or overexposed. In those situations, you might want to switch to manual mode to ensure the settings match what you're trying to do. This is like using your System 2 thinking. Neuroimaging studies have found different regions of the brain are used in these different types of judgment. When we think about pushing the man off the bridge, we use emotional centers of the brain in a way that says, nah, this is breaking a rule. When we do the moral maths, we use the working memory parts of our brain that say, we are still saving 4 lives. Now, these trolley problems are interesting because they drive a wedge between the 2 thinking systems. Most of the time, these 2 systems are in sync. They give the same answers. Both System 1 and System 2 would agree that lying and cheating and killing and stealing are almost always wrong. You don't even really need to think about it. Each system also has its strengths. Sometimes System 1 is right for reasons that System 2 might miss. Let's say you go to your doctor's office and your doctor says you're a picture of health. He also says that your organs would be better used, saving 5 lives for other people your age who need transplant. Your System 1 immediately says, no, 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 no. But your System 2 thinks, well, that's 4 more lives, right? It might take your System 2 a bit of time to realize the consequences of the doctor's orders. The world would be a scary and unhealthy place if going to the doctor meant you could be chopped up for your internal organs. In cases like these, your System 1 is right for reasons that take your System 2 a little while to figure out. The 2 systems can also interact. Sometimes using your System 2 to think about rules is helpful as well. People have written whole books about whether it's okay to lie. This is System 2 thinking applied to rules that are often a System 1 process. So when we face important and complex decisions, it helps to use both systems. As we've seen, when choosing how to do good, we shouldn't just rely on emotions without reason, because we can end up choosing things that could do harm. We should notice our system 1, hone our system 2, and then choose what best aligns with our values. Now, I'm not saying any of this is easy. Let me give you a harder thought experiment than a runaway train. Imagine you're walking past a shallow pond like this one, and you see a small child drowning. You could easily wade in to save her, but it would mean ruining your clothes and your expensive new phone. There are other people around, but none of them are running in to save her. What do? Almost everyone thinks you should wade in to save the child. Very few people think that a life is worth less than some clothes and a phone. Just because other people are around and they're not doing anything, it doesn't mean you should just let her drown too. But what if the child was a little bit further away? Now you can hear her, you know she's there, but you can't see her. Do you still save her? I'd say sure, 100% I would run in and save her. The distance makes things a little harder. If you look at my dad bod, I'm not exactly a runner, but it doesn't change what I should do. This thought experiment came from the philosopher Peter Singer, and is the part where he hits us with the really hard observation. Many of us in wealthy countries are in a similar situation right now. Metaphorically, there are drowning children we could save. We can prevent children dying from diseases like malaria for just a few $1,000s. Many of us could be giving more to charity, and Singer points out that not giving more is like walking past the pond. When I first heard this part, I could hear my System 1 and System 2 arguing. My System 2 said the argument checks out. Those kids in the developing world are still morally important, so I should give more. That part says all lives are of equal value. I could think of a bunch of things I'd purchased that I didn't really need. And System 1 didn't feel like that was morally wrong to spend that money on myself. I didn't feel guilty when paying for the bill of a holiday, but I do feel guilty when I imagine walking past a drowning child. It's like back in the trolley problem, where you can feel the difference between pushing the switch and pushing the person. Similar outcomes, but a very different feeling. Now, again, this course isn't about the philosophy of what decisions are morally right. I personally found Peter Singer's arguments compelling, so I committed to donating 10% of my income to charity. I'm really grateful that I can afford to pull the child out of the pond. But I know not everyone can do that. This course isn't going to say you should donate more or take a pay cut. Instead, the course aims to help you become more aware of your System 1 and refine your System 2, no matter what questions you're facing. In big life decisions, you probably want a combination of reason and emotion, of head and heart, not just one or the other. You spend a lot of your time at work, so you probably want to use both systems to decide how you do good there. You can do a lot of good with your time and your money, so you might want to use both systems for the big decisions there too. But if you forget your reusable cup one day, you probably don't need both systems. It doesn't really matter if you use a disposable cup once, or if you buy a new one, or if you run back home. The impact you have won't change much by thinking carefully for these little things. Because ultimately, being a good person isn't about robotically calculating your impact, but nor is it about blindly obeying your emotions. It's about weighing heart and mind. The more we can bring those into alignment, the more good we can do. The rest of this course will give you the tools you need to be both warm-hearted and clear-headed.